one and all, and listen to tales of excitement and adventure. Tales of daring heroes, savage monsters, and bards who just couldn't keep it in their pants. Tales of friendship, nobility, drunken foolishness, and unforgettable fun. These are tales of role-playing games, fair listeners, and this is Rollin' Bones. My name is Ryan Howard, and I shall be your guide. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Rollin' Bones with Ryan Howard, your source for the best in RPG interviews. I am your host and king of the boneheads, Ryan Howard, and as you can see, I am in a new studio. Let's see, just checking right now, am I echoing at all? Can you hear me twice? And yes, we do need to further decorate the wall behind me. That's something I noticed as soon as I went on tonight. Alright, cool. Thank you. Thanks, guys. That is awesome. I am glad that I am not echoing, because that would be irritating for you guys. And Loopy, thank you. Thank you so much for jumping on. Elfie, of course. Welcome. But yeah, this is the new studio. The new digs. The sweatbox, as I like to call it now. Because this is the warmest room. Yeah, we are actually pretty loud because this is a very small room. There's lots of echo. I can probably actually turn this down a little bit. And, yeah. But yeah, this is not a large space. But, yeah, the area behind me is pretty bare right now. You can see the, storage units that I am using for paint supplies. There's going to be a paint table that's actually coming in on Wednesday. That'll be visible on the Saturday stream. You guys will be able to see that. And I should probably actually move down. There is a thing on the wall. You can see the very bottom of it back there. Those are some of my miniatures. All right, well, Ronan just knocked over a tank. So, Buddy Boy's on the struggle bus. I should probably put that down for him. It's up high right now. That was that loud crashing sound. He didn't jump out of the tank. He was trying to get up to it, and he knocked the turret off. I need to reattach that turret. For anyone who is listening on audio, we have this little cat-sized tank that we bought thinking that both of the cats would love it. And, we actually bought it thinking that it would be cute for Nora to be in, but Nora does not want any part of that tank. Ronan loves it, though. Ronan, he's not in it all the time, but he will jump in it from time to time, just to check it out, see what's going on. He'll hang out in there. Sometimes I'll just see him jump out of it. And it looked like he was trying to get up there to climb in the tank. It's currently on top of some comic book boxes right now. But he just knocked the turret off. So yes, Buddy Boy is in fact on the struggle bus. Oh, nice. I am at 69 followers apparently. So let me put my mug down so I can do the, Wayne's World. Or not Wayne's World, Bill and Ted. Wayne's World does a guitar riff, so I'm not... Yes, yeah, the next goal is obviously 420 followers. And then if I can get 6,904... Or, sorry. Let's try that again. 69,420 followers... then we can have both comedy numbers. But yes, 420 will be the next goal. because 420 is inherently funny. I suppose. Light's kind of harsh. Let me turn down this light a little bit. It's a little bright skis. There we go. That's a little bit better. Cool. Well, as I promised, tonight, instead of talking to a guest, I was hoping to get John Hambone McGuire back on, because he's got a Kickstarter campaign that is launching tomorrow, I believe, for Rocket to Russia. It'll be the first adventure in a new system that he and a co-developer have created called 321 Action. It's a D10 system, from what I understand. Rules light, focused on storytelling, all that good stuff that a lot of people have been doing recently. Very much kind of the style that Stu and Hambone like in their games. I know they like some crunch too, but they've recently been all about kind of the storytelling stuff, so it's cool to see Hambone put something out like that. That's really awesome. And I would love to talk with him about it. He's a little bit busy right now, as you can imagine, launching a Kickstarter campaign, especially a first Kickstarter campaign. So we'll have him on at some point, whether it's in a few weeks or, whether it's once all of this is behind him and, campaign's over and we're looking forward to getting copies of that book. He's welcome on the show whenever he wants to come on. So, at some point we'll have Hambone back on to talk about Rocket to Russia and 321 Action as a whole. So instead, tonight, this is kind of off of the back of things that have been happening in a Kickstarter campaign that I've been following for the better part of a year now. Actually, probably right around a year. Yep, Ronan had to get his mojo back. He definitely had to get his heat back after that. Because he embarrassed himself on the internet live for all of you to see. And hear. Mostly hear, because he was off camera. But yeah. Yep. That's so Ronan. Anyway. Part of this kind of rant, stream of consciousness, me talking about Kickstarter from a very uninformed perspective, this is kind of in direct correlation to stuff that I've been experiencing as a consumer. This is all from a consumer's perspective, by the by. This is not from the perspective of someone who's done Kickstarter campaigns. I've talked to a great number of people who have done Kickstarter campaigns, and I'm sure they would have their own 2 cents to put in about this. I've had conversations similar to this with people, but tonight we're going to look at some of the Kickstarters that I've backed just kind of over the past year. We're going to look at one in particular, that being the Batman Oggs Kickstarter from IDW Games. Oh, I'm dropping frames. That's not good. Let's see, is it better now? Are we better now? Looks like looks like my internet connection's good. I wonder if moving changed any of my settings. Twitch, don't do me like that. Alright, so let's soldier bravely on and see if these problems get worked out. For those of you who are listening on audio, you won't be affected by this. YouTube people, you probably won't be affected by this either because I'm recording it locally. But let's keep her going and see kind of what's what with these Kickstarter campaigns. Let's move on over to screen share here. Alrighty. So yeah, just real quick off the bat, want to talk about a couple people who have Kickstarters. Obviously, we just talked about 321 Action, Rocket to Russia. So we'll be, like I said, I'll keep you guys updated on that. This is starting tomorrow, and Hambone's a great guy. It's 80s action adventure, something that I know Hambone is super jazzed about. So yeah, that'll be cool. Another one I want to talk about. We have 19 days left on Saving Chult by Venger Satanis. Venger has this kind of interim Kickstarter campaign going before we get the third book in the Chult trilogy. Venger's putting out as many of these mini adventures as the campaign will allow him to make. And, you take a look at the tiers here. If you pledge, I believe... Let's see, what's the lowest level you can pledge? At $15 or more, you get all of the adventures in PDF, and you get the Chult books in PDF. If you pledge $65 or more, you can get all of the adventures, which again are PDFs, and then you'll get the Chult book or Fuchsia Malaise hardcovers, signed and numbered by Venger. Venger's made these things sound awesome. If you want that Fuchsia Malaise thing, you need to jump on that right now, because he's only got one copy left. You've only got 3 copies left on the Chult side of things too. However, if you want to throw in $105 for what Venger's doing, you'll get the adventures and both hardcovers. 20 spots left, 80 spots left. And I was completely mistaken about those numbers. There are 299 left on Fuchsia Malaise and 97 left on Chult. So there's plenty of space there if you guys want to jump in on that. That's good to go. I read that wrong. My bad. But yeah, so far, if we go on down to the campaign, we're just over 3,000 with this. So, you're looking at 3 adventures. Ultimately... if things go well and we get past that 7,000 stretch, 7 adventures for $5. Like Venger says here, that is a bargain. That's a deal. That's a deal ski right there. All right, so this is Saving Chult. If you guys love Venger's crazy, wacky, out there world, definitely jump on this one. All right, so let's get to the main event. I've talked about this thing endlessly on the show. This IDW Games Batman the Animated Series OGS game. For anyone who doesn't know, within IDW Games, OGS is the Adventures Universal Game System. It is a miniature combat, light role-playing game, mostly built around scenarios. These OGS games are they're all licensed properties. The first one was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That Kickstarter is still being fulfilled currently, just due to, the fulfillment happened right as the pandemic was kind of at its worst. So there were a lot of issues with, fulfilling it, getting it out there. I think the UK had a terrible time with customs on it, which is a risk, something that we'll actually have to talk about here. just as far as shipping and what the cost will be for your backers as far as things go. But yeah, this is the Batman the Animated Series Adventures IDW OGS game, and this campaign has been a minor nightmare, I imagine, for the people at IDW. Maybe even a major nightmare, just based on some of the nonsense they've had to put up with from AT&T and Warner Brothers, who, obviously they hold the license for Batman. They own Batman. They set the rules for what you have to do to make a licensed product for them. And Warner Brothers and AT&T are two of really historically the worst managed companies ever. Like, it's amazing that they're still in business sometimes, just the sheer nonsense that they pull on people. HBO Max right now is kind of a prime example of this. It's like launching another streaming service, doing all of that. The way they're running DC Comics right now, they're just like slashing people left and right. Basically, DC Comics is going to end up being like, I don't know, 6 books, maybe 10 if they're lucky. It's mostly going to be like Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Justice League, Teen Titans. Harley Quinn will probably get her own book for whatever reason. And all of your other favorite characters are just going to be like backup stories, and occasionally they'll pop up in the background. The way that they're running things is not great, and this has carried over into multiple different arenas. DC movies have struggled historically. And it doesn't show any signs of slowing down. Now, some of the movies do look cool. Yeah, as Loopy says in chat here, they fired their entire C-suite at HBO because of how HBO Max went when it first started. That's what we're dealing with here. And they've done stuff like that multiple times. So, why do I harp so much on kind of the corporate ins and outs and boardroom stuff at Warner Brothers and AT&T? They, or someone from their licensing department, I'm not going to pretend like it's the CEO pulling the strings on this Kickstarter campaign that 9,000 people backed. Like, the total at the end of the day for this was $1.6 million. That's nothing for a company the size of AT&T. So this is not crossing a CEO's desk or anything like this. This was a marketing and a licensing department fiasco here. A lot of prefacing for here. I'll just show you guys what we're looking at here. This campaign started in late January, early February of 2020. Maybe even late December 2019. And it was supposed to be delivered in December of 2020. We still don't know when this thing is going to be delivered. We have no idea when we'll be able to get our hands on this game. Now, anyone familiar with Kickstarter, you're already laughing at me. And I know, and we're going to talk about that. But the reason why this game is running behind, with really no indication of when it's going to happen, that is the problem that we're going to talk about here for a little bit right now. And I wanted to talk about this here because once this game shows up, I want to judge the game based on its own merits, based on the content of the box. So I want to get the drama out of the way here and use it to make a broader point about Kickstarter and consumer expectations around Kickstarter. So, let's go into the updates. Because this is where I have to show you guys some of the stuff that's happened. So one thing I'll say just as a point about presentation when it comes to something like this, especially in a miniatures game. I'll click on this just as an example. This is what, if you see right here, this is what the photos of the actual factory samples of the miniatures looked like. This is someone's kitchen table. And this is taken on a phone. Now, there's nothing wrong with taking pictures on a phone. People do it all the time now. Professionals do it all the time. I take all of my miniature pictures on a phone. I'm not saying that's the problem. The problem is it's from like a weird Dutch angle overhead. You can't see most of the model. It's not well zoomed in, and it's on someone's kitchen table. When you're doing something like this, a light box for miniature photography is not that expensive. I've got one. It's right back over there. I think it cost me $50. Now, it might be, like, if you look online, you can find it for, like, $75. I think I got a deal on mine. But in the grand scheme of things, a light box is not that expensive. And if you have a light box and, lights, which typically come in the set, and a phone, you can take decent pictures of a mini for a Kickstarter campaign. These are not decent pictures. These don't really show me anything. I mean, I can see some of them, but I want to look at the detail of the miniature. And this is purely from a painter's perspective. I want to see how detailed this miniature is, so I know, what's it going to take for me to paint this thing? What's it going to take for me to make this thing look as good as it possibly can look? And yes, as Elfie is saying in chat here, Ronin's favorite toy besides the tank is the light box. Every time I set it up, he gets in it and he wants his picture taken. He's a very photogenic pony, and I love him. And I have almost as many pictures of him inside the box as I do of miniatures on my phone. But yeah, I mean, you look at here, the crew from Make 'Em Laugh. You can kind of see detail. You can't really see Pack Rat's face. You definitely can't see Mighty Mom's face. Just put them in a light box. Put them in a light box and take good quality photos. So that's a small point that I'll make there. Make sure there are good pictures of the product if it's something physical like a miniature. If it's a book, it's a book. But if you're selling miniatures or, anything like that, dice, good quality pictures of the physical product with good lighting so that people can see the details. Because if you don't do that, people are going to think you're hiding something. So, here we are. This is the rulebook update. And I bring this up to show you guys from the beginning of the campaign until 2 weeks before it was supposed to ship. This was the cover art for the game. I think it looks pretty cool. Now, if you want to nitpick some of the details here, like Commissioner Gordon's hand looks really weird. And he has a riot shield for some reason. And Batman has tiny feet. Again, it's foreshortening. It's an artistic technique. People have done it before. It's not like it's Rob Liefeld level bad foreshortening. Joker's legs are a little bit long here, but again, nitpicks. For the most part, though, this is a pretty cool image, and it gives you a good idea of what you're in for. This is a miniature combat game. This is a game where you will play as Batman and his allies to fight, kind of the best of Batman's rogues gallery from Batman the Animated Series. It's the BTOS art style with a couple slight changes, just in like color palette and stuff like that. And it gives you a good sense of what this game is. You've got Catwoman fighting Penguin, Batman taking on Mr. Freeze and the Joker, Two-Face is taking on Commissioner Gordon and Batgirl, Robin's in the background. It's cool. It looks cool. However, this cover was not okay. If we go back to the updates, this update came in on December the 4th of 2020. Greetings, Gothamites. While everything is progressing and we're thrilled with our final factory samples, a recent policy change with our licensor has resulted in the need for new box art and one final round of approval. The overall art style has been maintained, so you'll still enjoy the same nostalgic aesthetic you've come to know and love. However, this minor change, paired with the multitude of boxes included in this campaign and the upcoming holiday season, will mean a small delay in shipping. By small delay, they mean indefinite. Well, not indefinite, because the game is still coming out soon. So, basically, the old cover art won't do. This is what they gave us instead. This was the new cover art. There are several things wrong with this. For anyone on audio, I really do recommend watching this one on YouTube. I'll describe it here. It's a similar situation. Instead of being outside, for some reason they're in a warehouse. But, it's Batman fighting the Joker, Two-Face and Mr. Freeze are tied up now. Harley Quinn is filing her nails like she did in the series. Man-Bat has been added to the cover, despite it being indoors, which is not really where Man-Bat thrives. Scarecrow is fear-gassing Commissioner Gordon, and his fear gas looks like fart clouds. Riddler, who has baby buck teeth, is chokeholding Robin with his cane. Robin also has baby buck teeth. Penguin is brandishing an umbrella at him, and Catwoman has a derpy look on her face, and she's crawling over some boxes. Catwoman looks like she's all of 12 years old in the face. But you can also see her boobs and her ass. And then to really narrow in on the worst part of this whole thing, Batman... Oh, I don't even know how to describe this right. I mean, if you're watching this, you can see it, but Batman's triceps look like those guys who get the weird, cortisol injections or whatever it is. The dudes who, basically pump themselves with fatty tissue to make their arms look big instead of, working out. Batman looks like that. His arms look like, or his arm that you can see looks like balloons. It's just ugly. And it's clearly a rush job. It's clearly, something that they had to throw together at the last minute. It's not a good cover. It's too busy. And it's just awful. And the reason they did this, I'm going to switch over to a CBS article here, CBS News. This is from June of 2020, June 11th, talking about the removal of guns from Elmer Fudd and Yosemite Sam in the new Looney Tunes cartoons that are on the previously mentioned HBO Max. Leaving aside the irony, and you can see here, I'm not going to play the video, but you can see here, even though Elmer Fudd has had his rifle taken away, he is still trying to brutally murder Bugs Bunny with a scythe, of all things, as if that's somehow better. Just because it's not a boomstick, I suppose. But all of this to say, this has become kind of a running policy. HBO Max, or HBO, AT&T, Warner Brothers have decided that when it comes to their licensed properties that they view as targeted at children, despite the fact that this is a Kickstarter game that I'm pretty sure is going to end up retailing for somewhere in the neighborhood of $50 to $60 for a miniature skirmish game. Because it's done in a cartoony style, a cartoon from almost 30 years ago, by the way. Because it is a cartoon style, this is a kid's product, and therefore they can't have guns on the cover. So, Mr. Freeze's freeze gun that shoots ice was a problem. Joker's toy gun that shoots flags was a problem. And, Two-Face had a Tommy gun. Which, of the three, if you're going to be like, well, okay, that's a realistic firearm, despite the fact that it's, it's a cartoon Thompson, that is, is this a government thing? I did not, I didn't know this was a government thing, Loopy. What's going on there? I thought this was just, their internal policy. What's the deal as far as, is the government saying you can't put guns in your children's shows? Because that's even stupider. Oh my god. People, it's a cartoon show. And this is, oh my god, no. Loopy, I'm glad you're here. This is adding a whole new dimension to it. Government, stay out of media. Quit it. You don't need to be involved in every... I'm going to not go down the anarchist rabbit hole that I'm tempted to go down with that. Suffice it to say, that's dumb. If this is related to government regulations, that's even stupider. But this product, which is not for kids, I don't know, if they have an age restriction on here. I'll take a look. See if there's, a blow-up of the box. I'm pretty sure games like this are intended for, 14 and older, usually. Somewhere there's a picture of the side of the box. A big picture. But, this isn't for kids. Not really. I can see a thing on there. I can see there's a birthday cake on the side of the box there. But I can't see, what age it's recommended for. I'm going to keep scrolling until I can see, a better picture of the side of the box. This isn't for kids. games like this, kids don't play games like this. Kids don't really play games anymore. If you've noticed, kids are all about the iPad and YouTube and stuff like that. I sound like an old man. I always sound like an old man though, so there's that. But yeah, this is a Kickstarter product, which Kickstarter, you can't back anything on Kickstarter unless you're 18 or older. I mean, in the interest of disclosure here, I paid $225 for this thing last year, which gets me everything. So that's why I paid $225 for it. If I waited until it was all released, I just got the core set, it would probably cost more. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Ages 14 plus. It is a 1 to 5 player game, 60 to 90 minutes, ages 14 plus. Surely a 14-year-old is allowed to see a gun on the cover of a game. I mean, they can buy T-rated games, like T-rated video games. Those have guns. Right now, at least. I don't know. It's dumb, is what I'm trying to say. And it caused a massive delay. By the way, it doesn't affect anything inside the box. It's just the cover. It's just the cover they're bent out of shape over. I was afraid they were going to take guns away from the models and stuff, which, Mr. Freeze without his freeze gun is not Mr. Freeze. Joker needs his revolver with a flag. I guess you could do, playing cards like they have there, but some of these characters need their weapons. Commissioner Gordon, the GCPD officers, they need their revolvers. You got to have the dudes with the Tommy guns because it's Batman the Animated Series. But anyway, I'm already spending too much time on this one subject. What they did was they went dark for just a long time. They were like, we're going to have an update. If I went to the comments, I could show you. Just every week, people were like, when are we going to have an update on what the cover is going to look like? And every week, it was just, we're working on it. We should have something for you in the next update. Next update comes, nothing. And they even, addressed it a couple times. But finally, last week, after everyone said that new art sucks, can't you just, if you can't use the original cover just to get us the game, and I was among the people saying, just write Batman on a white box and send it to me. But people were saying, if you can't do that, if you can't use the original art at all, just put the logo from the show on the cover and do it that way. It's iconic. It's indicative of the series. People know that logo. They associate it with Batman the Animated Series. It's simple. It's not going to be anything that people can object to. Just do that. And finally, they did it. This is the new cover. It is minimalist. It's a little simplistic. It's not original. Again, that's the image that so many people associate with Batman the Animated Series. That's the logo. It's like slapping just the Coca-Cola logo on a box. But it got approved. It's a cover. It's a cover they can use. And so now, hopefully, we can get the game. However, we now run into the issue, because the manufacturing of these boxes and these games is in China, we are running up against Chinese New Year, which is going to add a further 2-week delay to the process. So instead of having this worked out before a major holiday, which is really going to shut down the entire production, whoever it was, their liaison with Warner Brothers, who was just kept pushing back, or was ignoring them, or wasn't, getting everything approved in a timely fashion, essentially holding 9,000 people hostage, not actually holding them hostage, but, their money hostage. We have all paid for this thing now. They collected our money back in, September. Maybe even August. So I've paid for this thing. They've got my money. I'd like my game now. But anyway. All of that over this. Now hopefully we can get this thing by April. I'm hoping. So, now that the old man yelling at cloud / man complaining that he didn't get his toys on time by Christmas, now that that's out of the way, let's talk about some of the lessons that we can learn from this on the consumer side, and some of the lessons that people who make these Kickstarters can learn. Because while people were complaining about the delays in chat, there was a consistent refrain, or not chat, in the comments, there was a consistent refrain that I kept hearing over and over and over. Kickstarter games are always late. And I'm sure some of you have been yelling this at me this entire time. Kickstarter games are always late. You can't anticipate everything. I know that. Sometimes there are just things that are out of your control that, you just can't help it. There will be delays in the process. Someone will get sick, or, there'll be a printing error, or something needs another look, another run through, revisions, that kind of stuff. So yes, Kickstarter games are always late. A few weeks late, a month late, that's fine. We're looking at several months late here. And in the case of a lot of Kickstarters, we're looking at a year or more late, a lot of times. And I know, this might sound callous, especially to those of you who, have Kickstarters. Chronic lateness isn't really okay. As a consumer, I'm not cool with people who just, throw up their hands and go, it's late, deal with it. Now, let me give you an example of a project that's also late, but is done really, really well explaining why they're late, and, being communicative and being uplifting with their messaging here. Deadlands. This was supposed to be out, it was scheduled to be out in November. I thought that I would have this to review at the end of the year. We are looking at this game showing up sometime this month. Hopefully in the next couple weeks, because I've done a review of the system itself, because the PDFs are already available, but I want to unbox this thing on the show and show you guys what all we have here. And do a whole Danishes and Dragons episode on Deadlands. But consistently, all the way back, if we go through the updates, all the way back in August of 2020, Pinnacle told us that, just due to issues with printing, issues with, related to shutdowns, related to the pandemic, they were not expecting to get physical products until the end of January. So they've got them now, I imagine. just waiting for everything to come in so that they can begin shipping. That takes a little bit to get together. But this was in August, like months before we expected the game. They let us know. They kept us in the loop. And it does really seem like Warner Brothers kind of blindsided IDW with that. Although a couple of their clarifications in the comments said that they had an inkling that this would happen. They, figured it might become an issue, that they might have to fight Warner Brothers on it. So there was no warning from there's no warning from IDW or Warner Brothers on that campaign about, what was going to happen there. Pinnacle gave us a warning. Pinnacle told us, hey guys, here's the situation. It's out of our hands. Here's the new update. This is what we're looking at. If your game is going to be late, unless, you absolutely don't find out until the last minute, this is how you should do it. You have to be transparent with people. You have to let people know what's going on with the product that they're looking for. And all over Kickstarter, you can see, Kickstarter is not a store. That's true. That won't change. This is crowdfunding. It's not, this isn't a consumer platform. You can't go on a Kickstarter campaign and expect something to show up in the next 2 days. That's not really possible. Unless you're doing the campaign like Knights and Nerds did a while back. It was almost 2 years ago. I think it'll be 2 years ago in April or May. They did that campaign. All of their stuff was like virtual, digital offerings, stuff like that. They turned that around in a couple weeks' time. But, for the most part, you're not going to get something tomorrow on Kickstarter. In fact, it's very rare that you will. It's not a store. But the people who back these Kickstarters are investors. These are people who believe in the idea. They believe that they are going to get this product, and they are pledging money to help you figure this out and to cover the costs of production. In a lot of cases, that's what they're doing. Even on larger companies, you're covering the cost of production. I backed a comic from Boom Studios. They have production infrastructure, but with comics not being as big a market now, due to kind of the shutdowns, making comic book stores inaccessible, which is a majority of comic sales. That's where they come from. That caused some problems in the comic book industry this year. It was already teetering on the edge of collapse in many ways, but that's neither here nor there. That's a different conversation for a completely different show that I don't have. But the people who back these things, they deserve to know what's going on. We, as the consumer, deserve to know what's going on. So if you're not transparent with the issues that your campaign is having, you don't have to get into specifics or minutia. Just say, hey, these are the types of things that I'm running into. These are some of the issues that I'm having. There's going to be a delay. And people will understand. If you approach them in good faith, if you are honest and transparent with them, that is how you can get away with your game being late. And get away with is probably not the right term there. That's an understandable delay. That's the difference between what happened with Deadlands and what happened with Batman Oggs. And honestly, this might seem like a no-brainer to some people, but you really do need to have that transparency. And you really need to, understand that, there are people out there who might be expecting you to be on time. In fact, the expectation should be that you can deliver this in the time frame that you've given. And that's the next piece of advice. Obviously, Pinnacle, they're professionals. I imagine they're very good on time frames for other campaigns. This is the first Pinnacle campaign I've backed. Kickstarter was kind of a new phenomenon for me in 2020. But yeah, Loopy brings this up in chat. There are people who, have had their Kickstarters and then, they take the money and run, basically. And that's, again, this is a thing that's been around for about 10 years now, maybe a little bit more, probably more like 14, maybe as much as 15. I don't know if it's been that long, but it's still a fairly recent phenomenon. And there are people who, do their Kickstarter campaigns and they deliver a product. It's not the product that was promised. It's not even close. It's missing things that they promised. It's, light on the features that maybe even were unlocked in stretch goals, and it's just not what people are looking for. One of the kind of greatest debacles of Kickstarter, I don't know if it's Kickstarter or Patreon, it's crowdfunding, but Star Citizen in the gaming world. Star Citizen, through pre-sales and crowdfunding and stuff like that, they've raised millions of dollars. Something in the neighborhood of like $15 million. And there hasn't been a decent update on the status of Star Citizen in a couple of years, I think. It's a joke at this point amongst gamers, like, Star Citizen's never coming out, that kind of stuff. It's the new kind of Duke Nukem Forever. And unfortunately, that's become common on crowdfunding. That's why you need to, advice for consumers, make sure that the people whose campaigns you're backing are reputable. That's like, I mostly only back campaigns from companies that I recognize or people that I've had personal conversations with, which is why I love this show. Because I get to talk to people. If a campaign looks cool, I can bring someone on the show and talk with them about their campaign and provide a service not just for myself, but for those of you who listen, to let you know that guys like Spencer Campbell, Nevin Holmes, Levi Combs, Shane Hensley from Pinnacle, Venger Satanis. These are people you can trust. These are people who put out their products. They're good quality, top of the line, and Hambone. Hambone is a great dude. I'm sure his campaign will be fantastic. It's his first one, but I've got high expectations for it because I know he's got good character. He's not going to lie to people about the status of what's going on or anything like that. He's going to be honest. He's going to be upfront. He's always been that way with me, a guy he barely knows, a guy he's really only talked to over the internet, never met him in person. But he's an honest, decent guy, so you can trust him. But that's where that policy comes from. I want to know that I can trust people. And you know what? If I see something that looks interesting, I will usually reach out to them and see if they'll come on Rollin' Bones before I toss them some money. So, yeah. You want to make sure as a consumer that you can trust people. You know, if they've got multiple projects that have, been successfully funded and stuff like that, that's a good sign. You know, those are people you can trust. If it's a company who typically like funds their games through Kickstarter, but then they release them physically and stuff like that, like IDW does. For the most part, you can trust IDW games. I've had nothing but good experiences with their team. They've been very, very cool to me personally. The guy who whoever it is that runs their Instagram and their Twitter, they have been awesome to me. I painted some figures from Batman the Animated Series Gotham City Under Siege, which is the first BTOS game they put out. I painted the miniatures that came with that, and they shared it on their page, which I was not expecting. I didn't, I looked at them. I thought they looked cool when I painted them. I did them comic style. Thank you, Mike. But, I didn't think that they'd be worthy of putting out on an official social media account, but they did that. And, they were gushing over them the whole time, which I thought was cool. I love it when people love my work. So, they're good, decent people. I believe that they were railroaded by some nonsense at Warner Brothers, because Warner Brothers is known to railroad people with nonsense. But you do, as someone running a Kickstarter campaign, need to be transparent and honest with people and let them know what's going on. Be in constant contact and make sure, while we're on the subject of honesty and openness here with these Kickstarter campaigns, it's better to say we're working on it or we don't know or something like that than to, give false information. And there was a lot of clarification in the comments of we don't know, we're working on it, we'll get back to you. But there was also a lot of we'll have something in the next update, or the next update will be out tomorrow and it wouldn't be out. Or, the next update came out and there wasn't any information. Don't write checks that your body can't cash. Don't, to paraphrase Top Gun there, don't make promises like that. Don't make promises you can't keep is kind of the number one rule of a Kickstarter campaign. Don't promise more than you can offer. And there's been a lot of that in the history of Kickstarter. And, now that we're looking at 10 plus years of Kickstarter, it's time to stop that. It's time to, take a little bit of ownership of what you're doing on here, because this is a nexus of RPGs. So much of the modern RPG community and so much of kind of the broad world outside of your major RPGs, really everything besides Paizo and Wizards of the Coast, to some degree, begins life on Kickstarter or goes through Kickstarter. That's how these great games are made. Things that, win any awards, things that people rave about on podcasts, things that I talk to guests about on the show. A lot of it comes through this junction point. So this platform has been huge for gaming, and, I'm grateful for that. So many great games have come through here. We can do things better, though. We can use this tool more effectively and more ethically. We can be a little bit more honest with the consumers, with the backers, the investors in your idea. So what it comes down to here, just to really drive home these points. Don't overpromise. Be transparent. Don't promise things that you, or don't promise information when you don't have information. Don't give false information just to give an update. Always be transparent with, delays. Do what you can to make the delays more palatable. Have content in and around the campaign. Of course I'm going to toot my own horn here, but I'm always down to have people on who are doing cool campaigns. So, doing shows like this where you can, have a conversation about your game. Talk about the product. Show good quality pictures of physical merchandise. Good lighting. Make sure the detail is, front and center. Light boxes are not that expensive. Especially if you're doing miniatures. I imagine, I don't know if there are many Kickstarters related to jewelry, but if there are, that's probably another big one where you want good quality pictures. I don't know if anyone uses Kickstarter for that, but always have good visuals of what things are going to look like. That's another thing they did well here. Even though, you've got people talking about, this is a different campaign, but, you can see some of the stuff that people are going through in this campaign. Here's the Deadlands manual. And that's not a great picture, but that was also a screen capture from a live stream. They have, pictures of stuff like that. This is a good picture of the Marshal's badge, which is something I'm super excited about. You bet. I will be wearing that badge every single time I GM Deadlands. That Marshal's badge that's pretty sweet. I do wish, I wish that what Shane and I had talked about with the Marshal's badge, where the hole would be right in the middle, so that you got shot and then were harrowed. That would be, I think that's cool. I do like that there's a bullet hole in it where, as Shane said, you could survive. But yeah, just, have good quality pictures of the physical merchandise. And, one thing, if I can circle back to the Batman Kickstarter, one thing that IDW did well in the campaign, despite all of the issues with it, one thing that I really do need to applaud them on now that we're here, and I've kind of said all the bad things I can say about them, or about how they ran this campaign. They were very good about taking community feedback and replying to every message, no matter how vitriolic, no matter how upset. If it was someone saying, I'm canceling my pledge, it just gripes, moans, me saying you need to take better pictures. There were people telling me to stop whining when I said that. Those people were probably right, but still, I think I have a point there. IDW responded to me, and they responded to everyone. They made sure, and they said it's one guy or one person running the Kickstarter page, replying to everyone while they're upset. Now Pete Walsh would pop in every now and then to give an update. Yeah, he was painting the figures and stuff like that. Pete Walsh was the game designer, or is the game designer. Love to have him on the show at some point. Once the thing releases, I think I want to bring Pete on to discuss it. But they always responded, and they were always taking community feedback, and it was community feedback that got us a better cover than what we were looking down the barrel of getting. Did it potentially take a little bit longer as far as getting approval was concerned? Yeah, definitely. It definitely took a little bit longer. Longer than I would have liked. That's for sure. I wanted that game in December if they had to send it to me in a cardboard box or like a plastic bag. That because I want the miniatures, and I want to paint the miniatures. That's what I want. But they took community feedback and ultimately gave us a better cover, one that I won't have to then hold up to the camera when it shows up and say this cover sucks, because I'll say this cover is iconic. This is a great image, maybe a little bland. I would have liked the original cover a little bit better, but it works. It gives the right message. It's something that will look cool on a shelf. Even though, looking cool on a shelf is one thing. I care more. It's a weird thing with board games. I know the first bite is with the eyes, not the nose. In this case, Elfie. The first bite is with the nose. Is for that's for tea. But I understand that you want a cover that's going to pop out to people on a store shelf. That I understand. But for me, once I buy a game, what the box looks like on my shelf doesn't really matter. Because ultimately, if it's a good game, I'm going to take it off my shelf. I'm going to take that cover off, stick it on the bottom of the box where no one can see it, and pull stuff out of it to play the game. And no, Elfie, I don't like the... It's some kind of rice tea. It's like roasted rice or something like that. I don't like it. It's not good. With so much tea, it's all about the smell. Because tea itself, roasted rice green tea, not a fan. Tea has flavor, but it's kind of subtle flavor, and a lot of the flavor that you pick up on comes from the aromas that you get. So if I don't like the way a tea smells, I'm definitely not going to like the way it tastes. And I think that's true for a lot of things that you eat. Air conditioner just came on. That's fun. Hopefully you guys can't hear that too loudly, but if you can, I apologize. Anyway. Yeah, that's... Wow, I've been dropping frames like a monkey. Wow. Yeah, I need to play around with my settings once we jump off here just to see what's going on. Fortunately, I'm not playing a video game right now, so dropping frames isn't that bad of a situation for me. It's a talk show. But yeah, that's really all I had to say here. Pat on the back to Pinnacle. Jody and Clint Black, Shane Hensley, everyone on the Pinnacle team, you guys have been doing great. Honestly, Levi Combs does great with his stuff. And once again, I'm going to go down here and just say, while certain things could have been handled better, and while I'm disappointed, ultimately, that, things weren't handled better, IDW, you guys have been great as far as communication. Again, certain things could have been better, but just being there for the community, it's a great job. Game looks great, and I'm still looking forward to getting it. I understand the situation was beyond your control. Licensed properties, it can be that way. Warner Brothers giveth, and Warner Brothers taketh away. But yeah, that's really all I wanted to say about this. There are things that Kickstarter does well and things that it doesn't do well. Ultimately, it's really been a boon to the gaming community, and I'm glad that we have it. But at the end of the day, improvements can be made, and I want to make sure that those improvements get made. I want to make sure that, people hear from a consumer, someone who's not run a campaign, but someone who's backed some, what we like, or what I like at least, and I hope it's reflective of what other people like too, what we as consumers like, what we don't like, what we expect from updates, what kind of information we need. And, hopefully with all of that, you can make your campaigns better and make sure your timelines are realistic and, make sure that we can cut down on the number of seriously delayed Kickstarter games. Because no one likes a delay, especially not the people making the game. So, if there's something that we can do to mitigate that, I'm all in favor of it. If, we as consumers need to adjust our expectations, I'm willing to hear that. I think most people now come into Kickstarter with the right expectations. We know that, what we're supporting might not end up looking like it does now. There might be changes along the way. Things might have to shift based on certain factors that are beyond everyone's control. But ultimately, we just need to be better about this. Companies need to run these campaigns better, and that's really all there is to it. Transparency, honesty, and not providing false information. That's really all that I ask for. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. We're going to work out some of the issues that I've had with the stream tonight. New internet, supposedly better internet. So we'll see about that. I am on Wi-Fi. I'm not wired right now, which is probably the problem. But yeah, thanks for powering through with me here. I appreciate it. And this Saturday, we are going to be talking about a more positive topic, something that I definitely have a little bit more experience with, something that I could probably speak more intelligently about, starting campaigns, and the philosophy that you should go into, or can go into, when it comes to beginning a brand new campaign. I love thinking about stuff like this, talking about stuff like this. I've got several ideas, several different schools of thought. I'm gonna, try to get these thoughts synthesized, do something with notes so that I'm a little bit more prepared. I wanted to have notes for this conversation too, but work was murder on me today, and I've been moving all weekend, so there's that. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in this Saturday on Danishes and Dragons. How to start a campaign for any RPG. So until then, whether you rolled a 1 or a 20, I'm so glad that you rolled your bones with me, Ryan Howard, and I'll see you next time.